Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the important features of the grid line tool in Autodesk Revit. Without further ado, let's get started. To do so, go to architecture and go to grid, and you can see that this grid is activated only for the the floor plan view. Right, so go to grid, and you can see there's a couple of things comes here. Like one is the line, so you can create a grid line by a straight line. So that's what we've been seeing in the few videos before, right? So in this case, we'll try to look at that in greater sense. Like for example, the first is the line. Say I'm gonna create a grid line by this, right? So which means that I've created a grid line. Say I want to I wanted to rename it as D, right? So capital D, and here we go. So this is how we generally do, right? And then modify, and then I go to grid, and in this case I wanted to take something called a pick line. So it's a very important thing that you should know in the grid line. Say I'm gonna click this. When I click that, like the offset, like say for example, the offset is something like, and you probably know this if you're very familiar with Autodesk AutoCAD, right? So it creates an off line like with the existing reference line. Say for example, I'm going to create a 500 centimeter line as an offset. So from this, say for example, when I cover over here, I'm not clicking, I'm just covering over that particular line, grid line, existing grid line. So you can see when I tilt the mouse to the left, so there is a temporary blue color dashed line, right? So when I click that, so a grid line gets developed of that will be 500 in dimension. When I come to this side, so there's another grid lines, and this particular grid line is taken as the reference. So I'm going to click now, and you can see that there's a grid line gets drawn in this thing, and same way it gets repeated. And if the offset is different, so I can go and change here. Say for example, I just put 210 now, and this as a reference, you can see the line can be drawn. In this case, let me draw it in the left hand side, like here it is. You can see let me, all right, so so I'll just modify that. Let me so J, F and K, right? So this is how you generally draw the grid lines when you pick a line method, right? So this is how you like pick lines method you can generally draw, right? Next case is this thing, start, end and radius. This is for the non-linear or some curved geometry. Like for example, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna come to this particular location, and you can see whenever I just cover over this, I have not let it go, so I can have a particular parameter. So start, end and radius. So the radius is defined here. So this looks pretty much comprehensive and looks pretty neat. So I'm going to click here, and you can see that this particular curved the grid line gets generated. And I can even change the dimension here. Say for example, I want something of 950, right? So I can see that particular radius gets altered automatically. So this is how this particular start, end, radius, arc method works. And then the next one will be center, end and arc. Let me try that from this thing. So the center, I'm gonna take this as a center, and say for example center and arc. Say I'm gonna give I just click here, then I just cover over this, and you can see that center, end and arc. So this is how the arc is. I can even still edit this. Say for example, I want something around 800, then you can have the dimensioning of 800 and then arc. Or you can even modify this, and you can even extend this particular arc to a greater dimension. Say for this case, this I can have the grid lines, the details of the grid lines in the both the case. I'm gonna remove that. Right. So this is how you generally generate the grid lines in terms of the linear line and start end radius and center end and arc and pick lines method. Hope you really enjoyed this video. Have a great day. Bye bye.